So now that we see that there is a new rearrangement of the Operation Lafia Dole in the northeast, for instance, now we understand that the army has appointed new war commanders. What impact will that bring? Will that scale up, for instance, the ratings for the GTI?
If I have to assess that, my best bet is to use what I have and profile the situation based on habitual outcomes. Normally, we see these things happen, they followed with a lot of ceremony, a lot of, reshufflements. Fine, that's good. But then there is one thing they miss out. It's called continuous improvement. Okay? The new reshufflement could actually bring in people sets that will take it a notch higher. And then habitually, maybe this time next year, we'll see another lull. So it's like taking 2 steps forward and then losing 1. So that's 1 step. Then we'll take another 2 forward and lose 1. It has to be about sustained, continuous improvement. And you can't do that if you don't track everything. Everything. I track it. That's why I'm able to just look at it and see a trend. I can give you a trend and tell you that the whole thing is now seasonal. If we were to track it on my system, you're going to see what we call spikes and lulls. Spikes and lulls.
But is this not in effect taking the war to Boko Haram itself, when you have the army basically reorganizing itself, having new commanders in place? The chief of army staff is in the northeast. The chief of air staff is also in the northeast. This is formidable enough to get us have better ratings.
Agreed. When the president came on board, the team was formidable enough to give us what we got. Reclaim our lands. Degrade all those verbiages that were used to describe the situation. Fine. Can we sustain that from past events in the last 6-7 months? Is it actually ebbing or is it thriving? Sustaining it is key. Very key. Yes, we've seen the Chief of Army Staff's conference hold in Maiduguri. Yes, we've seen the Commander-in-Chief go there. Yes, we've seen new appointment made. Profiling the situation in the Northeast, can we count 11 months from now and say continuously we have improved? We're not. Look, listen, we've had enough. We've had baptisms in sacking military locations. By now, it should be a thing of the past. By now, a battalion sitting in defense should not just be walked over by insurgents. No. So if you go into the situation at ground zero and you begin to look at what is happening, there is no learning curve. We are not yet at that learning curve, not on my database, if you get what I'm saying.
So you're not too worried about these data? You're not worried that it might be exaggerated or tainted in any way?
In my own way of doing things, I like to be painfully conservative. When I say painfully conservative, it helps me. I like to overestimate the adversary and even underestimate my own capabilities.
So this might be working for us?
That's the best approach to take if you want to be down to earth, realistic. If you decide to underestimate the adversary and overestimate yourself, you're going to be in for surprises. If you underestimate the adversary, if you overestimate the adversary and underestimate your own capability, you're going to be in what I call a continuous improvement mode. If you ask those in we call them fast consumer goods or fast consumer, if you ask them, they will explain it better to you. They don't underestimate the competition. No way. So basically, the situation we have is one in which we have to become used to being on our toes every time, all the time. Things have to be done correctly and rightly every time, all of the time. Getting it right every time, all the time. It's possible. It's very possible. And that can only be done if you track everything. You track everything. You have your lessons learned database. You have your best practices database. And you work. It's simple. All you need to do is to just track everything. I don't know for want of a better word to use. And trends jump into your face without you even having to be out there on the field.
You talked about a lull. You talk about a bracket that is not filled. What then are we missing as a government, as the army, or the military, if you will? What are we missing to allow that to happen? Is it as a result of funding? Is it a funding challenge? If we had those funding challenges and we fix it, will we have a better winning strategy over Boko Haram?
As it is, the funds that are being expended are quite humongous. So I don't see a funding challenge. Yes, they may not have released what has been claimed to have been approved and what have you. But then if we go back from, say, 5 years ago to date, how much has been spent? And we look at what is on ground and say, can we begin to say, okay, this matches what we have on ground? For me, it's not a funding thing, it's a consistency thing. What do I mean by a consistency thing? We pay too much attention to the military. The military has its challenges, the military has its deficits. I'll mention those shortly. But let me ask you a question. If the military were to hold its own fort, what about the other law enforcement agencies? What's their blueprint for the fight against terror?
Is it wrong to over-concentrate on the army?
If you over-concentrate on the army, then you are forgetting what we in security parlance say, that a chain can only be as strong as its weakest link. Yes. Let me give you an example of the Metele incident. For me, largely, 3 things happened there. 1, it was a failure of what I want to call cooperation between the 2 countries. Okay? Next that happened is our borders. Our borders are so very, very porous. Okay? The third thing that happened, based on the footages I saw, was there was simply no drive. When I saw troops, the ones that were being shot at point blank, I have been in the system and I know what a soldier in a defended locality should look like, accoutrement and dress-wise. Definitely somebody slept on his switches there. I wouldn't be there and have my soldier dressed like that at that time of the day. Look, World War II, defense tenets. The time at which they attacked, the soldiers should have been somewhere in between stand to. If you know what stand to is, in those days, obsolete defense tenets now, we do stand to, first light, last light. So they shouldn't have been caught napping. I saw soldiers that were dressed as if they were just resting, being shot at point blank range, which was very painful indeed. So what I'm trying to tell you is, if we want to really, really enter into this matter and grow as in continuous improvement, results, and you don't get results without tracking things. You have to track things. Put another way, bluntly, is people have to be placed on their toes. That's the only way you get results. Most of what we do are ceremonial. And then we also do denials. We go into denial modes when things happen. I don't have a problem with accepting this has happened. The heavens won't fall. But it's the fast-track approach way to recovery. Because when you deny it, then you cannot possibly begin to make amends because that will counteract your denial. That's it.